The Pythagoras Mountains in the Transylvanian Alps are truly magical. Steep, craggy, rocky mountains. As I was deliberating my course of action, there was a strange noise that flooded the open slope. I turned round and looked at the mountain, and an avalanche was being triggered. It was utterly terrifying. I just remember flying through the air and huge lumps of snow flying past my head. The next thing I knew, I woke up, and when I tried to stand, my leg gave way and just collapsed, and the end of my femur had snapped off, my hip had shattered. You know, the foot was going to keep swelling, there was going to be no release of the tension at all. I realised then I could really lose the foot. I realised I got the Leatherman tool, so I just pulled it out, opened up the pliers to cut an incision in the back of the heel, because the boot had frozen solid. That was one of my first big tasks, really, of self-preservation. This is a tool that saved my life.
I met Steve Berliner, my eventually-to-be business partner at Oregon State.
The first time I met Tim Leatherman was in the table tennis room, becoming pretty good friends that way.
And we also had skill sets that were complementary of each other.
I knew that he was dependable, reliable. I knew he was punctual. I knew that I could count on his word.
When I first met him, I thought this guy is a good player.
When I first saw this beautiful girl come down into the ping pong room, I tried very hard to play very impressively, see if I could get her attention.
Tim is inclusive and able to understand other cultures. So he just defy my definition of what American is like.
I had this desire to live abroad, to work abroad, so we decided to take a budget trip to Europe.
We went there with the hope to be able to backpack and hitchhike our way around. It didn't work out very well, and so we decided that we'll buy a car.
We found out that the easiest place to buy a car for a foreigner was in the Netherlands. And once we had our day or two of tourism, then that was what we're quite focused on. We were just literally walking along the streets, and there was a Fiat 600 with a for sale sign in it.
It's actually a trip of a lifetime just to see the world.
The Fiat was not entirely reliable. It did need repairs now and then. Back in those days, I did have a few rudimentary tools handy for everything from making adjustments on the carburetor to tightening up bolts. During the trip, I was carrying a pocket knife, and it was fine for doing what it could do. But there were often situations where I needed a pair of pliers. And as I say, this was a what are we going to do with the rest of our lives trip. So as we were traveling, I was jotting down notes. And one of the notes was, in essence, put a pair of pliers in a pocket knife. But this idea would prove to be much more complicated than I initially imagined.
I think of my Leatherman and my experiences, I think about my uncle Mike. Before he passed away in 2008, he gave it to me. He saw like the struggle and the past I had growing up and just kind of really wanted to kick me in the ass and say, get it together. I loved him. Sorry. Who would have thought that a little piece of metal would have so much meaning through the Leatherman? His spirit's gonna be alive, his memory, the stories. So I gave it to his youngest daughter, Haley. So whenever she needs it, she's gonna be able to have that at hand and tackle whatever's in front of her.
When we returned to the United States, I decided that adding a pair of pliers to a pocket knife was the project I wanted to work on. My first step in this project was to create the prototype. I spent the first 3 years of this project in my brother-in-law's garage. At times I was lonely. On my 30th birthday, I can remember thinking, 3 years of my life I've been working on this. I have nothing to show for it. And I remember starting to cry. And then waking up the next morning, today's a new day, I still have a goal, let's go see what I can do.
He's serious about that goal, and that's one of the few characteristic that I really admire.
My wife, turns out, is a very patient woman, and she was willing to support us for the entire 3 years.
I'm hopeful, but very cautiously hopeful, in the sense that I don't know it would be well received, that he can produce it and that he can sell it.
Would you like to meet Mr. Crunch?
Is that me?
Would you like to meet Mr. Crunch?
Mr. Crunch?
Yes. You see this pocket knife sized tool? Very compact. Fits right in the palm of your hand. But you open it up and you have a pair of needle nose pliers. Now not only do you have pliers, but you have more usual blades in a pocket knife too. And you have a can and bottle opener. You have what you always need in a good pocket tool, full length knife blade. That's Mr. Crunch.
Okay. And this is Mr. Tim.
Yes.
I had this determination to try to get this tool on the market and kept at it. Over the course of the 8 years, we probably got more than 500 no's. 7 years into the 8 years, I'd about given up on this invention, and Steve Berliner, who had been following my lack of progress all this time, stepped in and said, there's still a few things you haven't tried.
I remained highly motivated that the right customer and marketplace would present itself if we kept at it. We were working so hard that I don't think we let the failed attempts thwart us in the least bit. There was always another avenue at hand.
And one day in late May, got a letter at my business address that said Cabela's. And I opened it up, and lo and behold, inside was a purchase order for 500 tools for $12,000. I mean, you can't imagine eight years of waiting for something to happen, trying so hard to make something happen. And now finally we have an order. Once I came up with this folding handle concept, there was still a lot of challenges to get the tool to be strong enough to work. I wanted my tool to meet the military specification for each of the standalone tools. Today, Leatherman is a company that has over 400 employees making our tools here in Portland, Oregon. Quality is number one with us because we want each tool to work as needed, when needed, for every customer, no matter the situation. Since making the first Leatherman tool 35 years ago, we've introduced more than 30 models of multi-tools.
I have a lot of respect for the way you have to travel over the ice. I parked my truck, got the four-wheeler loaded up, the wife on the back, and we buzz in across the lake, and it had a couple inches of snow, light powder on it, and there had been other tracks on the lake, so I thought the ice was safe. We're buzzing across, and she's just going kind of slow. And next thing you know, the front end goes in, and she just stopped, dropped, and rolled right in. So I swam around. I tried to get out. I couldn't get out. I tried clawing at it. I went over to Chrissy. We just said, I told her I loved her, and I'd give her a kiss. That's the point that we didn't figure we were going to make it. And whatever happened in my head, I didn't say anything. My hand went down, and oh my God, there it was. My Leatherman was on my hip. And I opened it up, and I took a big jab. I pumped myself right up and I took a big jab at it. And I come out with momentum, and I just went woof, right around in a circle, and I'm looking right at her. The wife was right there.
How we got the strength at that point, I don't know. One thing I do know, I mean, obviously there was a little bit of divine intervention, but without the Leatherman, we certainly would never have gotten out of that.
All I've been told is that we would be going to a cabin and that there will be some people there that have some Leatherman stories to tell me. To tell you the truth, I'm not big on surprises. I like to have my life planned out and know what's going to happen. Hello, hello.
How you doing?
Hi.
Hi, Chrissy Waters.
I'm
Sure,
Tim.
Leatherman.
Hi, Tim.
I'm Larry Waters.
Larry,
So
hi.
excited to meet you and your wife. Welcome to our group.
My name's Grace Daniels.
Nice to see
Hi, I'm
you.
Tim. Who are you?
Hey, you ought to know me by now.
You know him, I take it, yeah.
Hi, how are you doing?
You know, everybody here has an amazing tool tale.
It was a tool that allowed you to get a grip on the ice to be able to pull yourself
Yeah.
up onto the ice.
If it wasn't for the tool, we wouldn't be here, so thank you. Just like I said, it's been
Could I have a hug? Thank you so much. I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell you what, I want to shake everybody's
Some of my own successes in life have started off a failing. It takes real guts and drive as well as vision to just keep taking knock after knock. And you know, I knew about your story, and I just thought, yeah, this is my kind of man. So here I am, and thanks a lot for pulling it off.
When I grabbed it, I made sure I was getting the best hold on it I could get.
This is the actual tool?
This is it. Yeah.
Wow. Would you like me to engrave that tool for you?
Oh, I would love that.
That would be
Oh, this is
amazing.
great.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I got a group of them.
Okay.
I'm continually amazed at how you have used your ingenuity to accomplish so much in such exceptional moments. When people ask me what's the best thing about Leatherman, and I say it's the friends I've been able to make. I'll consider you all my friends.
You start out making something practical that people will buy it because it's practical, and you end up finding out that it's much more than practical. Here I had named it Pocket Survival Tool, but I thought of survival in a sense that was very mundane, but we were selling a product that had quite a bit of meaning and attachment, emotional attachment to customers all over the world, actually.
There's a fine line between perseverance and failure to accept reality. But if you're going to err on one side or the other, err on failing to accept reality and being too perseverant rather than giving up too soon.